We're all distance learning today.
Nice.
Oh, I know. My son's in his room doing his stuff, and so I'm in my room because he's using all the expletives he can loudly to say what he thinks about boomers not including links in learning and
Wait,
Schoology not.
waiting for a response when I just sent that.
Not
in.
working. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I learn a lot. I learn a lot from him.
It's funny.
So, have you guys had any communication with anybody else who's trying to join?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. All right. And again, everybody's got an opportunity at 7 p.m. for those who need another review or have had kids who can't make it in the morning.
Oh, you need. Oh, if that doesn't work, you're gonna get picked up
Oh.
on kids.
Oh, there's Hyatt.
Harriet.
There's Hyatt.
We have a shortage of headphones, so we're trying to figure out. Also, Miss Kale posted some Zoom sessions, I think, for today.
Yeah, I messaged her and told her she moved it to 10:45.
Okay, cool.
All right, so we're gonna read them again because I clicked on the check mark and it doesn't say it did anything.
What are the Zoom sessions for today for? Wait, what are we doing?
This
That's
session.
this one for Miss Kale.
Oh,
Sorry.
For our perio test and our diverse needs test tomorrow.
Oh,
Jenna just texted that Jenna, Amber, and Michaela can't get in.
here comes Maria.
The wrong code
I
to
think
get in
all
for originally.
Zoom codes are wrong in the announcements. Just FYI.
They're just swapped.
Yeah, they're swapped. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, I put a new announcement in this morning.
I know.
Or so hopefully for the first one, they'll have that. So let's start with what questions, what are the questions that you have? This is just for Unit 6.
Is it all multiple choice, Ms. Hampson?
This one is all multiple choice. No essay answers, anything of that nature. And the study guide that you guys created is good. It really helps narrow it in, as well as the highlights on the PowerPoint too.
Okay.
And so part of it is not only just the information, but to review what the question is asking too. Because sometimes it's mixed up with the not questions. So when it's a not, then you can think about what are the 3 answers that are to help in there too. Oh, Ms. E can't get into the meeting. Let me give her a text too.
I have a question about the trimming and the mixing. Are we going to have like a question that puts them in order? And should we know that, like know the order?
I think that it's good to know the order. I don't want you to focus all your mind power on knowing the exact orders in detail. It's going to help you in lab, but to know, just like how we did it on the study guide, to know what comes first when you're trimming. Second, third, and how you mix and all of those types of details. So I'd say yes, anything that's on your study guide, I want you to really focus on highlights into the PowerPoint. So it's good to know the preparing for the model sheet. You guys still have your pouring model sheet to review as part of your Unit 6 review. So other than what's on the test and what you need to know, how about we ask some different questions regarding information and stuff like that. Now we've got Michaela.
Santiago can't get in either. What is happening?
Shannon can't get in either. Lovely. Well, good thing I had a great idea of having a PM one,
Yeah, that is a good idea.
so we can do this again, but better. Says I have another meeting in progress. Okay, I'm going down to my other computer.
Mine said it had another meeting in progress until I switched links. I had the wrong link originally, so I had to switch links.
We got Jenna. Do you guys think that this could be in part by that I switched from my netbook account and got a new laptop over the weekend, and now I have a different account, but I did everything, maybe I did it double. Everything was done in my netbook too, but I don't know. I've got quite a few people in, and others, yeah, switched with different links, so. Well, I'll post a review and we have their 7 o'clock, so let's make use of the time that we have right now. And it's being recorded, so here comes Maria, Michaela, Amber. Okay, but you guys, this is you guys asking me questions, not me telling you information. So who's got questions that we can discuss as a group? Well, okay. Somebody throw out a topic.
Okay,
Gypsum.
sorry, I was just reading over the study guide here. So what is, yeah, for like the gypsum, so
Mhm.
there's all those different types.
Yep.
What's our most common one, or like what do we, like type 2? That's just like the plaster model, isn't it?
Type 2 is what we were using of more of a plaster, and it's thinner, harder to set. The 3 is typically what you're going to use, a stone.
Okay.
And so the more delicate the stone is, the lower the number. The higher the number, the stronger and more detailed and fine-tuned the stone will be. So
Okay.
better models. So when we're taking our whitening impressions, we're going to use a lower numbered stone, because the higher the stone, the more expensive it gets, and we don't need that type of detail.
Okay.
So it is good to know those types of stone in there too. And then how are we going to mix our stone? And why is that important?
Wiping and motion instead of whipping because whipping would cause bubbles.
And it's a mess. You guys have seen how everything flies in there too. So we need to really wipe it against the sides of the bowl. So we were turning our bowl and wiping all at the same time in there to really not have any bubbles. Because what do bubbles do in our impressions, in our models?
It caused blubs.
To make the blubs.
Make the blebs, make all of that, which if we have blebs, we could lose our detail. So we won't have as much detail in there. So good. Okay. So how do we know when our model is ready to separate? Other than time, what's the appearance going to look like?
A loss of gloss.
Yeah. And how long, 20 minutes does that take to lose gloss?
I thought it was like 5 to 7 minutes.
5 to 7 minutes in there. So then it'll, then you'll know. And then, and you can also check by touching it. If you're not going to touch and put your fingernail in it, then you'll know that it's ready to go too. So, yep. And then, you guys know the difference between the accelerators and the retardants then that we've put into the study guide?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of, yeah, pretty much.
I think the retarder increases the setting time, and then the accelerator decreases the setting time.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got that out in there. So good. All right. And then differences between the setting times. What happens with the initial set and the final set and the time span between there. And understanding about, you know, when we got to do that lab early, that was really nice to go through when we were actually mixing the Copac and going through when we talked about how we roll it in the diameter, which gets, which part of the mouth gets one piece versus 2 pieces of Copac when it's rolled to the diameter of a
Pencil.
Pencil.
right.
Posterior gets 1 piece and the anterior gets 2.
Yeah. So how come?
The posterior needs to wrap around
Yep.
both sides, and then the anterior should be placed on the buccal or the facial and the lingual.
Yep. And then pinch it together, make sure it's secure. In order to have it be secure, how many teeth should be included?
4 to 5.
4 to 5 to get it some good attachment in there. Okay. See, that was good. You see, that's what we want to do. We want to roll it, start that discussion. So let's start another topic in regards to Unit 6. How many seconds does it take for mixing Copac?
30 to 45.
And then what happens if we don't let it sit for that approximately 2 to 3 minutes and you try to put it in someone's mouth, which happened to some in lab?
It's going to be tacky.
It's tacky. It doesn't spread. Just if it's not working, then we're just going to let it set a little bit because you want that be that consistency of like silly putty. Oh, Rachel's here. She's out and about doing it a nice way to have a meeting. I'm going to look at a past test question here. I had it. No. As far as understanding what the question's asking, I'm going to review this too when it's getting prepared for the final. And with the final, it is, you know, do you guys print your tests or look at your tests and you have the correct answers and you go through it?
No,
can't-
we're not allowed.
Can't see
No,
that?
we don't-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know, because a lot of the final questions, it's a final of what you know. Some of the things may have been asked, most of the things could be asked. And so we're reviewing that right now, but a lot of it is to, if something is, what is not a good choice to polish veneers with? And then you had your 4 choices, then there's 3 of them that are a good choice. So sometimes if you flip the questions and say what is a good choice, it helps you to understand it more when I've reviewed this with other students. So I'm going to prepare something on how to read and understand what the question's asking, and that can help with that too. But let's go back to Unit 6, specific questions, which those of you who've joined us later, this is being recorded, and there is another chance to do this again better on my part at 7 o'clock. And so we've just been reviewing points of the study guide. So everything that we've discussed is would be nothing new to you that you would have missed. So what I'm trying to do is we're encouraging, this is like a guided study session for you all. So ask a question, throw out a topic, and then we'll all discuss that.
How about like the dressing and the sutures? So there's like a bunch of different kinds, obviously, like the absorbable and non-resorbable. So like the ones that we need to take out and the other ones that just obviously absorb that we don't need to take out.
Yep, so that's good. So you've got your natural fibers and your synthetic fibers, and your absorbable and your non-absorbable. And then what was the other kind?
A non-eugenol zinc oxide.
There can be eugenol, non-eugenol. And do you know why they took out the eugenol on a lot of some of the products that sit on the tissue too long?
Does it cause allergy to certain patients?
Yeah, it could. We'd know that ahead of time because we would look at the medical history, know the contraindications, but it irritates the tissue. It wouldn't be good long term that they're finding out in there too. What about how the sutures made up, what's within, as far as like, is it braided or single corded? Because we have the natural, synthetic. So natural could be like the silk and catgut. Synthetic, absorbable, non-absorbable. So if they're not needing a follow-up appointment, what type of stitch or suture would they have in?
The absorbable?
The absorbable, right. And so if somebody has, sometimes they have them also a monofilament and multifilament. So they've got thicker and thinner stitches too in there. So, and then how do those absorbable stitches get broken down? We talked about that in lab.
By phagocytosis?
Yeah, so the enzymatic process of breaking them down with those little phagocyte cells that are gonna eat them up for lunch. So, good. So that process breaks down those absorbable sutures.
Okay.
And then let's keep going on sutures. So there was a key piece of armamentarium that was needed in order to make sure that you removed the proper amount of sutures. That's it. Every day, how are you going to know that you remove the proper amount of sutures?
By 2 gauze.
So you're going to have your 2x2 white gauze.
Mm-hmm.
And how many sutures are you going to put on that gauze?
Or many that you removed.
All of them. So, yes, good. And how are you going to know how many sutures are present?
what was documented?
Exactly. So you're going to go through always looking, we always say document, good notes. So someone's going to leave you good notes that's going to say that 6 sutures were placed
Mhm.
between 28 to 30,
Sitting on her
etc.
bed.
And you're going to find them all.
Meet her in her bed. She's sitting in her bed, flat ironing.
And how would you, when we were removing sutures, this will be an easier one. We're going to go above the knot or under the knot to remove it.
Under the knot?
So we want to lift up, go under, and we're going to clip both sides or one side?
One side.
One side, because you have to be able to pull it all the way through. So we also talked about different sutures too, intermittent, continuous. So you guys started discussion on what the different sutures are and what they mean. Starting with intermittent. There.
So the intermittent are separate sutures, so they're cut between each tie, whereas the continuous is all interconnected.
Yep, and I think of intermittent, a lot of these, when you have words and test questions, you can break apart some of the stems of the words, not only the questions, and a lot of the wording is within what you need to know as well too. So if I have intermittent, I just keep thinking that it's my cutting is interrupted because I have to stop at each single suture. And then continuous, we saw those demonstrated. That's exactly what Amanda said, is that it's a continuation. Okay, anything else on the same line of sutures as long as we're there?
Will we have to know all of the different types of sutures?
Well, I think in general, like, you know, you have to know all of the types to decide which one the question is asking for.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it's a review that I would love to say, you know what, no, this isn't this, and that's going to be everything that's on the exam. But you have to know, like what we talked about earlier, the stone types. So yes, you have to know them all so that you know which one the question is asking for. None of this these aren't, the essay question type is not very detailed, but there's a lot of different lists that you need to know. Like somebody asked earlier, are we going to have to know all of the details of trimming? No, you have in lab. That's when that part comes out. We'll know the details of that. And we have our study guides, and you guys made your little, or we have Miss E's guide on that too. So you don't have to know that in detail, but know what happens first. You know, you're not going to take the mandibular anterior and start trimming.
Right.
What do you trim first when you trim models?
Maxillary.
The maxillary base.
So we're going to start there. So that's good to know. What use it as a guide throughout your whole trimming procedure. So knowing just the basics of how you go through a process, like the plaster. Like,
what part of the base do you trim first?
So don't you make it level first, like that? I don't know how to describe it. And then you do the back, the posterior.
As their sheets available.
I mean, I have the study guide up, and it says the base should be 1/3 of the total height of the model in the anterior.
That's at the end.
Okay.
Look at the sequence of trimming. The sheets that I gave you guys.
Are we talking about like the maxillary base, maxillary posterior border, mandibular posterior border, mandibular base?
Yes.
to trim the posterior part of the base first?
That's correct.
I wish I had a set of models here or something to show too. That this is where we have, what's the position that we have our fingers in, and how are we pushing that into the moving wheel?
Tucked away.
I automatically did it because when you've gotten tagged too many times, you're like, oh, it makes you jump. So
Kind
you
of
have
like proper cutting when you're cutting in the kitchen. Yes, there you go, guys. I am in the kitchen occasionally. But when you're cutting a tomato, you know, you don't want the tips of your fingers by the knife, right? I don't know.
No.
I watched a cooking show with my husband once.
So if that's your base, this is the flat part you've taken. You're coming in like this to trim. That's the best I got for that. So we've got 10 minutes left in this session, and remember this is recorded, and it also we can do this again at 7 o'clock because you never know what different questions people are gonna ask. Could be all different.
Quick question about the test. So we have Unit 6 tomorrow and then Unit 7 Thursday. Is that correct?
That's what we've got right now.
Okay. And I haven't gotten any instructions on how we're going to be taking the test. Is that coming from you and Mrs. E?
It is going to come from us too, but it's
Okay.
also already came from an IT from email. Did other people get to see that?
Yeah. The only thing we've been instructed to do is the LAN School Air thing, I think, to download the app or whatever, and that's it. But
And
nothing more.
We'll walk you through it tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
It's very similar. It's just it's very similar to just taking it on Canvas.
Okay.
It's just you have to log into a couple things first. That's it. It's really going to be very straightforward.
Okay, that's good to know.
Have to use our Canvas to start, or I don't think we'll have Mizzy, we're not going to have our Zoom, our upgraded Zoom by tomorrow. Is that correct?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, it was maybe going to be today or tomorrow, but we'll give you a code and then you'll go into it, and yeah, we'll make.
So yeah, and you won't be going in via lockdown browser because we'll be able to see your screen and we'll be able to see you. One thing I would say, if you guys have a desktop, we would like you to log in with your phone for the camera so that we can have you scan your environment.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll go over that in the morning, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So Mizzy, we can do an announcement. I'll do an announcement later after I have a chat with you too, as far as timing, because we have the instructor tomorrow, and then I'm sure we'll have to go through a few details and make sure everybody's successful on getting to the Unit 6 exam and completed. Then we'll work out the kinks, and then we'll be even better for Unit 7.
You guys, thank you so much. You know, just even attending this really does mean a lot to us that you guys, you know, are still in this and you know, going through all this with us. But you guys have been really wonderful.
And we get to see your faces and connect.
I don't know how everyone's doing, but I have been not doing so well.
What are you not doing well with?
Oh my gosh.
Social aspect or school? Or?
No, I've been like really sick. Today I feel so much better, but I've been having like chest pains and like headaches and everything. And I went in and they took a EKG and everything turned out fine. So I was relieved, but
do they think it's anxiety?
They just told me it could be, but they told me to keep a journal of everything that I do and eat. And I'm like, okay. And then, go back and check in with my regular physician, and so I'm going to do that this week. But it was the weirdest thing because I had been having chest pains for like the past 5 days, and yesterday was really bad, and then I went in and everything was normal, came back normal. So I don't know how it's to explain it, but they didn't know how to explain it to me either. So
Yeah, well, this is a terribly stressful and anxious time for everybody working through this, and just not just focused on our HERSing aspect, but just our friends, our family, our society, and what's going on. So, if there are extra anxious and stressful feelings that you're having too, there are tools within HERSing that can guide you and help you with that too. And then Ms. E and I are here to, and I've offered too, if anybody needs one-on-one Zoom or some extra questions via email.
Don't call me. I'm kidding.
We got you got her
You all
number.
know I'm kidding with that.
You've got me for email or a separate Zoom or whatever it is to need.
I am totally teasing. Hopefully you guys know I'm always here.
I mean, look at her.
Really know from all your text messages.
Look at her video picture on how happy and sincere she is. So, she's teasing. So,
yeah.
but we're here. But also to come with questions, or I need help with this, or I don't understand this, so that we can be mindful of your time and really get you what you need. For this Unit 6 exam, we've spent a lot of time with reviewing, as far as, you guys already did a good review. You guys made your own study guide, and we got to do lab in advance. And so that's going to really help you on your exam too. We've got 3 minutes left. Any other questions regarding Unit 6 exam? Topics. You can look at our study guide and throw out a topic. There's a lot of things that we've already went through. We had our sutures and mixing, trimming. It's a topic we didn't talk about. See, I'm talking to myself right now. See, you're supposed to be like, yes, I want to talk about this. I like that we're all having some time together and I get to see your faces, but besides that, there is meaning behind this. So maybe we can do this again at 7 and be boom, 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 questions, go. And you guys don't have to, this is recorded, but this was all obviously our first one that didn't go well. Okay, well, I'm going to throw out blunt instrument. Why did I say blunt instrument?
Suture removers.
Debonding.
Look at all that. It's all
remove the periodontal dressing.
Right. Because blunt is better than sharp, because why?
You don't want to injure the gingiva.
Yep. It's not, that's going to hurt. Okay, so this was our first ortho debonding. We have not brought up ortho debonding in this study session. So we've got 2 minutes. Let's spend 2 minutes on ortho debonding and questions there. Gray line. I'm going to throw out gray line.
What you do to the resin to mark it to see if it's still there.
Yeah, and some of you in clinic, we've actually done this. You can tell on some older composite materials, and so with some of you, I said, oh, this feels like it's cement, because I can feel that it's different. A lot of times a patient's tongue knows it's different. The Explorer is going to come across, you're going to get that gray line. And what else can we use that we use in clinic a lot to find out if there's residual cement?
The clothing solution.
Yep, air and disclosing solution. So those are all good ways to know if there's residual cement. And how come we shouldn't take it off with a ultrasonic or scalers or
You could
Curex?
take off enamel.
Yes, and what happens to the enamel underneath all of that if we didn't do it well to remove our cement?
It becomes altered.
Yeah, it can be fractured, porous, altered, etc. It's unhealthy with that.
Yeah.
So how do we get it back?
The fluoride, right?
Fluoride. And how many parts per million, we talked about this, is
Is it-
prescription fluoride.
Is it the 5,000
Yep.
parts per million?
Yep. Okay, boom. This is what I'm talking about. You see how that worked? We've had the best 1-minute study session here. And I know I'm going to get cut out here, but I wanted to say this is how we're going to roll it and go. So that was